It is Wednesday, the 8th of December 2021, and today is the 41st anniversary of the John Lennon assassination. Whether you accept that was done by Mark David Chapman, or whether the trigger was actually pulled by Jose Perdomo, the CIA assassin, whatever the case, it's been 41 years since the world lost Lennon. And these past several months, I have wondered what John would have made of current events had he still been around. I like to think that he wouldn't have been able to stay silent and that he would have chipped in with his comments regarding what's really going on. And just imagine the audience that he would have reached. Just imagine the millions around the world that would have paid attention to his words if he were able to comment on this. I mean, the same thing goes for so many other names. Bob Marley. What would he have to say about this? What would Bill Hicks have had to say about all this? Or George Carlin? So, quite a coincidence that these outspoken individuals are no longer with us. But Lennon, I feel, would not have been able to stay silent. Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr, Sir Paul McCartney, Sir Ringo Starr, well, we know where they stand on all of this from the public comments that they've made. There's a reason why they're Sirs, there's a reason why they're still alive, and John Lennon and George Harrison aren't. I mean, George would probably have meditated his way through the whole thing and reminded us that all things must pass, which is fair enough. But John Lennon, I feel, would have taken a much more politically active role in all of this. And that's the reason why I feel Yoko Ono was sent into his world as his mind control handler, because it had been observed by his controllers that he was going off script and becoming a bit of a loose cannon. So Yoko was sent in to rein him in a bit. But nevertheless, he still got outspoken in many of his songs, and lots of lyrical wisdom was put forward there. There's going to be plenty more of this, I'm sure, on the next episode of the Magical Mystery Talk, which is the podcast I get into with Matt and Desiree, talking about conspiratorial and spiritual, esoteric aspects of the Beatles. So we're going to do another episode of that as soon as we can. I've also been chatting with the Bernician, Michael Bernician, about doing a podcast all about John Lennon. Turns out we're both fans. Turns out we both know a lot about the man and his music. So we'll make that happen as soon as we can. On that front, watch out for an update from the Bernician. I'll post the link in the show notes below. He has said that he is going to be serving papers on 21st of December with beautiful poetic justice, the winter solstice. And he also has a plan for what all of us should be doing on that particular day as an active role in combating the tyranny. So links to that article in the show notes below. That having been said, the main purpose of this video is to make an announcement, which is that Musical Truth Volume 3, my new book, is now available. This is what it looks like. Big shout to my dude Robbie Allen for some more great artwork. He's designed the covers for all three of these books. And Volume 3 caps the trilogy of Musical Truth books. It does follow in the spirit of its predecessors. But more than that, I do want to make an important point about this book in particular. So I spent pretty much all of 2021 writing this. I started in January, finished in late October. The main emphasis of this book is to show how the Convid narrative and everything that's been introduced in its name and everything that is planned to be yet introduced is completely fraudulent from start to finish. Now, I know my regular audience, my listeners, my readers will already know this. I'm not trying to preach to the choir here. I believe that what I've created in this book, through a sense of responsibility and obligation to creation to do this work, is an all-you-need-to-know guide for any normie who has yet to wake up to the cold, hard truth of what's really going on in the world and who really runs things, I believe I've put that within the covers of this book. I've done my very best to give a new recruit everything they need to know to show how Convid has been the mother of all psyops ever dropped on humankind, and how, in turn, many household name celebrity A-list musicians have been recruited to help reinforce the official narratives. So 95% of musicians that have had anything to say about what's been going on these past 2 years have merely been telling people to put on a muzzle, take the V, do what the government tells you, stay indoors, don't speak to your neighbours, that kind of thing. I've got a chapter called All Assets Deployed, where I'm naming and shaming these individuals because nobody else was ever going to do it and the job needed doing. I've also included a few honorary exceptions. I've shouted out those few names who have been brave enough to stand up and be counted and say what needs to be said. There's not many of them, but I've named those few that have come across my radar. But the important point about this book is that I feel if it were gifted to a family member or a friend of my regular audience, it might just spark what's needed in their minds to accept that we've been lied to monumentally. It might just sow that seed in their consciousness. So, beyond this book appealing to my regular readers who may have read the previous books, I feel it really does have value to be passed on to a family member or friend. Because I get emails every day from people saying, I've tried to get through to my partner, I've tried to get through to my mum or my boss or the guys at work, they just don't want to listen, it doesn't matter what I tell them, they just won't accept what's going on here, and it's driving me crazy, it's frustrating me, it's like I'm bashing my head against a brick wall. I get emails of that nature all the time. So this book might just be what's needed to get through to these people. And what I feel is going to be the most appealing factor is that it discusses music, the music industry, musicians, bands, singers. Everyone loves music, right? Whatever genre it is, everybody loves some aspect of music. So if you can engage people in a conversation about music, particularly when it involves band names or, act names that they're familiar with, that they like, it's a good way of getting that conversation going and then leading people on to other matters. I've included a whole world of citations and resources at the end of the key chapters talking about Convid. I'm talking about the predictive programming aspects of it, how there's undeniable proof, unless you're a coincidence theorist, that this event has been planned for many, many decades. Not just years, decades. This is the end game for the evildoers in terms of their master plan. And there are so many examples in movies, TV shows, music videos going back years and years and years, conveying aspects of what's now going on within the spirit of predictive programming and within the notion of the evildoers trying to get themselves off the karmic hook and escape the consequences that would ordinarily come down upon them if they weren't to communicate in advance what they plan to do, thereby gaining our tacit approval as they see it for what they're doing. Because to not say no is as good as saying yes in their sick, diseased mindset. It is a twisted way of looking at it, but these are sick, diseased, twisted people after all. So that's why they do this. I've gone to great pains, great lengths. I've poured my heart and soul into this to provide all the citations, all the references. So if anyone should make the claim that I've just pulled this stuff out of the ether or made it up, I can point them to, a whistleblower testimony. a comment that was made in an interview, a gaffe or a slip-up that was made by one of the key individuals that betrays the true nature of what the agenda is, documents that have been leaked, all kinds of evidence to show that Convid is the mother of all psyops. Also in the book, punctuating these main chapters, I've got a new feature called Sound Bytes. And these are stories that reinforce points made in the previous books, talking about mind control within the industry, dark occult ritualistic practices, the military family backgrounds of so many key musicians, the orchestrated careers, proof that, fame and fortune was handed on a plate to so many of these key names who rocketed to success very quickly. This kind of thing. I actually quite enjoyed putting this together. I really delved into so many rabbit holes and just dug up so much information. And the soundbites aspects of the book are what I'm going to be presenting at the live talks that I plan to do in the coming weeks. I've done a few of these already. But this is the book, and it is a wake-up guide to normies. And so I really hope that it will get used to get so many more hearts, minds and souls on the side of the people. We need all the new recruits that we can get. And I hope that I've done the best job that I possibly can in trying to achieve that by means of this book. So it is available on Amazon. You can get the paperback version there. There's going to be a hardback version available very soon via Amazon. Also, there's going to be a Kindle version for those that like to read books that way. I do intend to record an audiobook version, but that's going to be some months down the line because these things really do take a lot of time. I've yet to record Volume 2 actually in audiobook form. Volume 1 is in an audiobook, as is The Cause and the Cure, my allegorical novel, but I've got to get round to recording 2 and 3. And I'm probably going to do that in reverse order. I'm going to record an audiobook version of Volume 3 as soon as I can get round to it, hopefully by the spring of 2022. Then I've got to catch up and go back and do Volume 2 after that. So it's a bit like the Beatles with, Abbey Road and Let It Be, which was kind of recorded and released in reverse. But for those that don't want to go through Amazon, that want to get the book directly from me, the paperback version is now available. So if you want a signed copy mailed out to you, all you got to do is drop me an email to the address in the show notes below, and we can correspond that way. You can pay by PayPal or bank transfer. The book is priced at £25. Postage within the UK is another £5. If you're outside of the UK, let me know where and I can work it out. So I do work alone in all that I do. It's a solo effort. I don't have a team around me. So I'm going to have to try and handle these book orders and getting these things out as much as I can on my own. But I have drafted in a bit of help for tomorrow to get many of these books packaged up to try and deal with what I hope will be quite an enthusiastic uptake. So what I would say to people is that if you're in the UK, I will do my very best to get this book out to you in time for Christmas. If you want to use it as a Christmas present, to gift it to, like I say, a family member or a friend who has yet to wake up. If you're outside of the UK, it might take a bit longer. But whatever the case, I would just ask people to please be patient and bear with me. I will get the book out to you just as soon as I can. But for the most part, it is a solo effort and I'm struggling to do many other things. I'm trying to keep my podcast going. I've got these live talks to do. I've also got a family life that I need to attend to. So these things do take time, but I will get around to it in the end. So what else did I want to mention? Well, I do want to mention the t-shirt that I'm wearing. Let's take a look at this. So big shout out to Neil for this one, and it comes from No Sheep Designs, which is his operation. He's got these t-shirts available on Gumroad, and there's many other designs. There's mugs, there's plenty of other merch on there. So the link to No Sheep Designs is in the show notes below. I'm going to be having some t-shirts, some hoodies and some mugs, by the way, printed with the Musical Truth 3 artwork. So that's the way it looks. That's going to be on the t-shirts and all the other merch. That will be coming soon, so I'll announce that as soon as that's available. Just want to thank everyone that came out to the talks that I did yesterday. If I look a bit tired and knackered, it's because I did 2 of these and it was a bit of a late finish with lots of running around in between. Absolutely foul weather as well. Disgusting. Rain, hail, dark clouds, really miserable weather yesterday. But despite that, 2 very good turnouts, enthusiastic crowds, good numbers to both events. So it was a daytime one in Beachampton, close to Milton Keynes. Big shout to Mike and to everyone that came out to that. Shout to Baby D and Phil turning up. Then in the evening, I was up at Truth Juice in Birmingham. Shout to Claire and Andy, doing a great job running that one. Another great turnout. And I was doing my presentation on the dark heart of the BBC. Turns out there's no shortage of material on that front. I'm going to be back at Truth Juice Birmingham on the 4th of January. And that's going to be part of the Bytes tour that I'm doing for Musical Truth Volume 3. So, the main Convid chapters don't really lend themselves to a live presentation. Plus, it's pretty grim material. I'm sick of talking about it. I'm sure we're all sick of hearing about it. I thought it would be much more interesting to take some of the more intriguing soundbite stories and turn those into live presentations. I've done a couple already, but I'll be presenting at Truth Juice in Birmingham on the 4th of January. Then in the new year, I'm going to be jumping around doing quite a few talks on that front as well. In the meantime, there are 2 conferences left before Christmas that I just want to mention here. This coming weekend, Saturday 11th of December, I'm going to be at the Bases Conference in Pewsey, Wiltshire at Bouverie Hall. Many speakers on the bill. Sandy Adams is there, Gemma Cooper is there, Harry Challenger is there, Hugh Newman. My talk is at the end of the day. It's going to be around about 5:30 till 7. So anyone that can be in attendance at the Bases Conference, that should be a great day this coming Saturday. Then the following weekend, Friday the 17th to Sunday the 19th of December, is the Questioning History Conference. This is down in Battle, close to Hastings, East Sussex. Big shout to Gloria on that one. I'm going to be doing 2 talks at that conference. The first one is going to be Dark Occult Aspects of the Rolling Stones. Then the second talk is going to be examining the unlikely influence of Aleister Crowley on so many rock musicians. So those are going to be great subjects for me to delve into. No shortage of material on either front either. So Questioning History does just that. It asks whether we've been lied to about pretty much everything that we've been taught, that we've been told, that we've been trained to think about the world. And it turns out that in 100% of cases, the answer is a resounding yes. So also on the bill for Questioning History is John Hamer, who's a great guy to have on board. He's written his books, The Falsification of Science and The Falsification of History, and he knows a lot about so many of these events and how they've all been massively deceptive and fraudulent. So he's going to be on the bill for that, many other speakers as well. This is a residential conference where if you buy a ticket for it, you can get to stay for the whole weekend on site. Catering is provided. Last year's event, the weekend before Christmas, was just great. It was a real breath of fresh air because the UK was a very dark place to be this time last year. Lockdowns were everywhere. It was just dark. It just felt heavy and oppressive and grim. The tyranny was everywhere. The treachery was everywhere. It still is, of course, but we've had another year to get used to it now. But last year, Questioning History came along just at the right time. And that very weekend, London and the southeast of England was plunged into an instant lockdown where everything had to close. Nobody was going anywhere. But we were still able to continue with that event because we'd started it on the Friday. The tyranny came in on the Saturday, but according to the stupid bullshit rules, because we'd started the event on Friday and we were in the same social bubble, we were all together for the whole weekend, we were allowed by our slave masters to continue through to the Sunday. So anyone that was in attendance at questioning last year felt very privileged to, be getting together socially in a way that virtually nobody else in the entire land was. So that event is coming up. Details of how to book are in the show notes below. There's no website for it. You just got to email Gloria, the organizer, to get a conversation going about tickets. And I think that's pretty much it for now. I'm going to be doing another video very soon. I've got a few things to say. Imagine that. But for now, Musical Truth 3 is available. And if you want to grab a copy, details of what to do are in the notes below. Happy reading, and I'll catch you again soon.